Earth, Wind, and Fire is one of the greatest bands of all time. And Maurice White was a visionary creator and extraordinary singer, songwriter, musician. He was the founder of one of the greatest groups of all time. He was a legend and an icon. And that is going to conclude the complimentary portion of this video, because I wanted to begin with the truths that I don't think that anyone can deny. The rest of this is going to be nuanced thinking that is outside of an echo chamber. If you'd like to listen and learn, then please watch the video in its entirety. Like, share, and subscribe, and hype the video up, because the algorithm will not push this. Let's get right into it. My main takeaway from this documentary is that although Maurice White was a great musician, he was not a good man. And I think Questlove knew that this was going to be a problem with the audience. And so he had to very quickly find a scapegoat and something to blame. And so he had to use the oldest scapegoat in the book, which is to blame black baby mamas for all of the problems in the black community. That way we can blame everything on his abandonment issues. So I will say that he at least did give some backstory for the mom, which was she was a teen mom, single mom, no family, no resources, no opportunities, who left her son with an older, more responsible adult, affectionately known as Big Mama, so that she could travel to Chicago, get a job, start a better life, become stable, and then send for her son. However, we left a lot of things out. But I do want to take this video to go and fill in the blanks. First and foremost, the fact that she left her child for Chicago. Here's what we left out. Historical context. So did about 6 million other black people. This was during the time of the Great Migration, where black people were barely surviving, much less thriving in the Jim Crow South, and they needed to migrate to places like Chicago, Detroit, New York, in order to even have chances of life at all, living at all, much less have any type of quality of life. She also had no family. Wouldn't that make her an orphan too? She also didn't have any protectors, and that's how she ended up as a teen mom, by that clearly grown man. Look at this photo. The age gap is clear. And by making us wait for a full hour into the documentary to find out the details of his father and what happened there, if you had just told everything in context in the beginning, then we would see that we can't use Edna as a scapegoat because she too is a victim. This is clearly a grown man. They say that he was a gangster and a nightclub owner on Beale Street. So you grown enough to own a business. That means that you had resources and that you were grooming and preying on a child who had no protection. If she finally gave birth at the age of 17, that means that she was probably impregnated at 16 and active even younger than that. And all of this was commonplace back then, and it still is now. And so I keep stressing the fact that she was a child, because we have a nasty habit of the constant adultification of young black girls in this community. And so what I notice is that even though statistically about 1 in 3 of us are violated by a relative or friend of the family when we are young, nobody ever says, well, because of this, that probably created urges, which led to promiscuity, that led to either teen pregnancy or at least out of wedlock pregnancy, and also an inability to form long-lasting, healthy, interpersonal relationships with other. You see what I'm saying? All of the psychobabble and the abandonment excuse, and none of that is ever given to black women in the form of grace. Instead, you are just called fast, loose, promiscuous, Jezebel, and you're a whore and just a baby mama, amongst other insults. We are never granted the grace that you boy moms and you male-centered Black women continuously give to Black men. She was able to become a wife of a doctor, no less, and a mother of 10 more children. She had at least 3 different jobs in 3 different industries, and she did eventually send for her son. I want you to notice that the fact that she clearly didn't have any parents, or she didn't grow up in a 2-parent household. She didn't use the excuse of, well, I didn't see an example of marriage, so I don't know how to be a wife. I didn't have parents, and so I don't know how to be a mom. Notice how she didn't use those excuses, but Black men use that excuse all the time. I didn't have no daddy, so I don't know how to be a daddy. And so you have some people who use their tragic childhood as an excuse, whereas others can have the exact same fate and use that as a blueprint for what not to do. As it pertains to Big Mama, I do like the fact that she was mentioned, I think by his son, by saying, hey, listen, he really owes everything to Big Mama. If she wouldn't have taken care of him in his youth, he would never have even made it. And so whereas she was acknowledged for 2.5 seconds, was she ever really repaid for her sacrifice? Or was it just viewed as something that Black women are supposed to do? And yet and still, anything that goes wrong, you blame it on them without acknowledging them for what they get right and the fact that they had a difficult hand to play and they did it in the best way that they could. What I didn't like was the fact that Big Mama's government name was never mentioned, and this became a pattern. What I noticed later on is, as we were making excuses for Maurice being a semi-deadbeat dad, they did the same thing. As we know of, he had 3 different children by 3 different women. Only one of his children was by a Black woman, and that is the only one that he didn't acknowledge. Now, if you all have any proof to the contrary, I'd love to see it. Go ahead and drop it in the comments. But I have scoured different platforms, and I could not find one photograph of Mimi and her father together before her untimely demise in 2022. I also noticed that during the time where they were mentioning the children, which would have been the appropriate time to mention it, I didn't hear a rest in peace or an acknowledgement of the fact that she had passed. They also never stated her government name, just her nickname, Mimi. Her mother was never named, and her likeness was never shown. Once again, the erasure of the Black women. But what did happen was the children that you had with white women, your sons, were the kids that you did acknowledge barely, because at least we can see a few pictures of you at least posing with them in their childhood. And then, of course, later on, when they were grown and strategically had aged out of child support, you wanted to be a part of your children's lives again. But let's fill in the blanks of what all happened in order to get there. And talk about the fact that a lot of Black men spend their entire youth being selfish, having a lack of dick discipline, and going about running amok and ruining their community. And the only time you want to be communal is when you've gotten older and sicker, and you don't have a wife because you were never good to anybody, and now you want your children in your lives so that you can have somebody to take care of you in your old age. You want to now come back to the Black community and acknowledge them when you need a nurse and a purse. But before then, you spent your good years crapping all over your people, and that's after you used them. And what I mean by that is the pattern that I noticed of only being pro-Black for pay and not for real. So you were able to start your career doing like Afro Sheen commercials and very pro-Black, Black is beautiful type content. And the minute you made that money, you left Chicago and skedaddled to California. And in doing so, as per usual, the higher Black men get, the more you try to distance yourself from Blackness. Again, you were a great visionary. You weren't a great leader. See, that's a lie that patriarchy told you, that as long as you're born with balls, you're supposed to be the boss. And instead of being a team player and listening to the other musicians, you just completely discounted what they said and tossed them away like yesterday's trash, not even giving Black men the respect of looking them in their eyes when you're getting ready to cut off their livelihood and kick them out of the group. You did that multiple times. You can't lead other men. You did not lead women. And you were not the leader of your children. Also, about the only being pro-Black when it's profitable. Of course, you have to gain the respect of Black audiences, use them to propel you. And once you get a deal from the white and Jewish executives in the entertainment industry, you go about constantly doing moves to assimilate into white society and to further distance yourself from your Blackness. The end goal is always white acceptance and white validation. You get all of the money from touring for, with Earth, Wind, and Fire. You use that money to reinvest into your own business venture of starting your own studio, The Complex. You don't even invite them to the opening of The Complex. You don't even properly credit these Black men for their work as musicians and songwriters and as lead singers on some of the songs. You basically credit them and pay them as if they're just session musicians and background singers. So although millions were made and you had enough to open a business, you were paying them like $2,500 a week, which is deplorable. I want you to pay attention to how every time there is someone that needs to be blamed, Black men always escape accountability by blaming either Black women, and when you can't do that, it's the white man and the Jewish man, how they gave us bad record deals and we do the hard work and they take all of the money. But the minute that you get an opportunity, Black men become the white men of the Black community. You did the exact thing to your group members. Half of your group members are your actual brothers. I honestly believe that if given the opportunity to time travel, there are several Black men who would not have been abolitionists. They would have just wanted to continue the awful institution that oppressed us if they got to be the ones that owned the big house and owned you and got to hold the whip. And they somehow erroneously think that by getting with white women, that is going to elevate them. But as we see time and time again, no matter how much you try to pedestalize them and make them your preference, they still don't get preferential treatment. White women got the same Black man that Black women get. And that's exactly why you never married. You never committed to them. You were never faithful to these white women. When called out for your degenerate behavior and your lack of dick discipline, you looked that woman straight in her face and said, I'm a star. I can do whatever I want to. And this is after you had multiple mistresses and created other kids with other women, none of which did you actually take care of. You used Earth, Wind, and Fire to catapult yourself into superstardom. And when you all were at the height, you disbanded the group. You used that as an opportunity to go solo. And your solo opportunities flopped. And on top of that, karma caught up to you in the form of Parkinson's. And so now you are broke and sick. And guess what you turn back to? Let's get the band back together. Let me reach out to my half Black children and to my Black bandmates so that we can start making some money together as a group again. And then now that your sons have aged out of child support, you want to come back in their lives and try to form a relationship with them. See, when you need a nurse and a purse, you can come back to the original source and pretend to once again be pro-Black for pay. And we have far too many Maurice Whites in this community and as members of the talented 10th, and not enough KevOnStages. But as we clearly saw with KevOnStage a few years ago, the concept of manhood for Black men is so rooted in patriarchy and toxicity that when you get the good examples like KevOnStage, you basically turn on them. Let me show you this flashback video so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. And hopefully this will encourage us to start to support the better examples. What's up, brownies? I'm finally publishing this video from several days ago that I had originally thought to shelve because I felt like Kev had already addressed it. And secondly, the content creators who had bashed him were A, never going to apologize, B, not going to admit that they lied or got it wrong, and C, they weren't going to keep the same energy in congratulating him that they did when they were falsely reporting his failure. So to give you a background on the KevOnStage drama, I'll first have to give you a little bit of background on him. Amongst many other jobs, he was formerly a youth pastor. Now, he met his wife in high school, they got married in college, and now they're about to celebrate 20 years of marriage this summer. After marriage, they welcomed 2 sons. I think it's worth mentioning that as of the making of this video, there have been no public scandals that have put spot or blemish on either of those titles for KevOnStage, neither as a husband or father. No mistresses or illegitimate children coming out of the woodworks. And in a day and time where many of your faves are having public beefs, publicly bashing and shaming their children, has open child support cases, and I think half of the industry got separated or divorced last year, this couple is still going strong. And I think that you have to understand how he is in his personal life to understand how he is in business. You see, how you do one thing is typically how you do everything. If you can be head of household and protect and provide in that way, is more likely that you'll also be able to lead other people in your own company. And that's exactly what he's been able to do. But Kev specifically wanted to make sure that when he got on and when he got successful, he was going to help others like him do the same. And he's done exactly that. And since everyone is allowed to give their opinion, I'll give mine. To me, the family man is the golden standard of manhood. Also, collective uplift should be the goal of this community. Representation matters, and it's important to amplify the voices that speak these types of values. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of YouTube, the manosphere, there was a content creator that was the polar opposite of Kev. Not married, not a family man, and yet somehow this is the person that people were going to for relationship advice and had even hailed him as some sort of expert and guru. His opinion was often delivered in a manner that many would consider hurtful. It was heavy on the critique and the criticism, and his fans tended to particularly love when he was able to verbally destroy Black women specifically. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me at all if I were to find out that many of his fans were also fatherless. If that's the truth, it makes more sense as to why they were willing to take relationship advice from a twice divorced non-family man. It's important to mention that this guru is credited with popularizing the term high value man, and he filmed most of his content from a very luxurious looking apartment. When he passed away a few years ago, it was being reported that the apartment he filmed in was actually in someone else's name and he was just subletting or subleasing it. Kev commented that he was surprised to hear this because he would have figured that a high value man would at least be a home owner. The rest of his commentary was basically just reporting on what was going on social media and everyone else's reactions to this man's death. He was not responsible for the death of this guru. He didn't wish death upon him. I don't recall him celebrating in the fact that he was gone, nor did he wish or delight in any of the bereavement that the man's surviving family was going through. However, many of his fans took this video as Kev bashing their fallen hero. Now let's fast forward a few years to just a few months ago when KevOnStage put out a video asking for more monetary support from his fans so that he would not have to lay off any of his current staff. Fans of the deceased deity started making videos that this meant that KevOnStage was broke and that this was his karma. The difference is KevOnStage is still alive, and once again, he's a family man and business owner, meaning his financial ruin is also the financial hardship of his family and the families of his employees. And yet we have Black content creators celebrating this. So now that I have the background out of the way, we're going to fast forward into the video by showing you time and time again the cost of having more crabs than Kevs. I will be giving this man his flowers because he stood on business.
So last week, a lot of Black people were angry and upset that you didn't have any African Americans win in the acting categories at the Emmys. Comedian KevOnStage is like, why y'all all doing all this bitching and moaning because trying to sit here and look for white validation? He said, if you create your own, you can celebrate your own. Joining us right now is KevOnStage, the founder of KevOnStage Studio. We can take the same technology, use our smarts, and create our own, and then control it.
Absolutely. Like, you know, as people, we have to take our future in our hands, but we also have to support the people who are doing it as well. I think a lot of times, you know, we get into the, if it ain't this, it ain't that, it ain't real and things like that. If it ain't CNN, like, to me, this is more important. Like, people like Reese, this is how I get my opportunities. People like you Black people end up checking for Black people way before national news does, way before anybody's paying attention. So why are we looking for approval? No showrunner who doesn't understand Black culture telling you, well, we've got to appease middle America. You know how many times I've heard, what does middle America think about this? Black people live in middle America. No, it's a code word to say, what do white people think about this?
The difference is we own it. Because we own the content, we now have a library. We now can license the content.
We can either complain about the status quo, or we can decide, I'm going to invest in something that I want to see. If you want to invest in a person who's decided, I'm going to make content for Black people, I'm going to highlight Black women, I'm going to let them create their own shows, you can see that on the app. You can see that I'm a man of my word, that the team is here. We own this studio that I'm in right now. We can license our own shows that we created in the studio we own. We let people use this and we charge them for production. So we own it 100%. The only people that we cater to is the audience, and that is Black people. We have a saying, it's for Black people anyway, because I don't even want somebody who it's not intended for to criticize it. Like,
I've been promoting Patreon more and more, especially the last week or so, and I never really said why. So I'll just be upfront with you like I was with the Patreon yesterday. Podcast revenue has been down around 70% for me. In all my podcasts. Josh, Angel, and Greg's salaries are dependent on podcast revenue. And it used to be tremendously lucrative, and I was able to pay them and all that type of stuff, but it's downturned tremendously. So instead of having to lay them off or reduce their salaries, I decided to give the Patreon audience and you an opportunity to help basically save their jobs. I'm not even, to put it plainly, in order to help keep them on payroll, I'm going to offer more stuff on Patreon, more shows, more exclusive content, things like that. I asked my Patreon if they could increase their monthly gift by $2 or $3, and I'm asking more people to join so that I can continue to keep these people on payroll and other creators around be able to help them do what they do, pay some of their bills as well. The Patreon, as a result of starting the app, was also hit very hard. It dropped tremendously. So I used to be able to supplement their salary even when podcasts dropped by Facebook revenue or Snapchat or whatever. But if you hear in the news, Facebook says they're not paying creators anymore, Instagram's not paying for Reels anymore, things like that, that's where that supplemental income was coming. So I really don't have the extra businesses to offset that. So I told the Patreon, I'll tell you, if you want to continue to see these podcasts and see all that stuff, then it's going to have to come from people like you. Otherwise, I just won't be able to sustain it personally because the way my business is run, each has to be successful. Live, merch, me as an actor or whatever, brand deals. But any good business owner can't continually pull from a struggling business and support it with other businesses because eventually it just pulls too heavy on the other ones. But the podcast revenue dropping just threw a wrinkle in the plan, and it's been happening for well over a year for me. but the other stuff started dropping as well. So my personal family's doing okay. It ain't that situation, but that's that. So in exchange for more content, you'll be able to see more stuff. In exchange for that, these people will keep their jobs. And it's my hope that it all works. So there will be new Patreon stuff I'll be promoting. There'll be new stuff on the app, and you, the viewer, will decide what you want to do and support. I leave that up to you. Only you know your finances. This is just my offering to you. You decide what you want to do with your money. I'm just telling you why I'm going so hard. All right, I love you. When I made the announcement that the podcast revenue was down.
Yeah.
And in order to keep this podcast going,
we needed
Patreon people to raise $2. Just the podcast.
Just the podcast.
All type of vloggers and YouTubers made episodes. KevOnStage is broke AF. KevOnStage is broke. That's what he gets. I knew it was going to crumble. The funniest thing about this, BET show was already sold. When I made that announcement, I never said I was broke. I said, this business of mine is suffering because this industry is suffering. That's not unique to Here's the Thing.
Correct.
Angel has a podcast. She told you the same thing. I called my other industry friends who have different advertisers. The whole media industry is constricting.
Yeah.
Nobody said that. They said Angel KevOnStage is broke AF. And I'm talking about the day my video came out.
Mm-hmm.
I was on their podcast and their YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But what's crazy
is that
when BT News dropped that I sold a show, I didn't see those same people say congratulations.
No, of course not.
Interestingly enough, the ones who rushed to call me broke and say, look, KevOnStage is failing. He'll be driving Uber soon. They didn't take the time to turn on their camera and record and say, oh my gosh, congratulations. He sold a TV show that he financed with him and his wife.
Of course they're not.
I wonder why they haven't made that episode. They didn't make no apology videos? They didn't say they were wrong?
They didn't say congratulations. They didn't say nothing. They just moved on to whatever other bad news.
Oh, and let that be a message to you. Some people are only going to talk about you negatively. They saw both. Because I only made one video about the podcast being down. I made 12 in a day about the show being sold. Gave them ample opportunities. They didn't share the trailer. Some people never gonna congratulate you. Never gonna celebrate you. They're only waiting for you to fail. And what they perceive as your failure isn't even a failure. Mm-hmm. I never said I was broke. You said that. I done told you.
You's a liar.
In the video you heard, I said me and my family doing okay. The podcast part of the business is struggling. I don't want you. I'm gonna keep checking and see if you make an update and edit to your post and say, man, dang, that's crazy.
Don't waste your time, Kevin. They ain't gonna do it.
But I want to see. Because I would say, oh my God, I was wrong. They're not going to say
oh my God, I was wrong.
They're not going to say it.
They're not going to say it.
What they're not going to say, y'all? You don't see this video? And Josh put all this up too. Don't cut the bonus off till here. Hey, hey.
Don't cut the bonus off until we're first thing.
I'm talking to y'all. Why didn't y'all rush to make a video congratulating me? You didn't make no noise about me selling my show to a network. Why? Why you didn't? You didn't hear about it? You didn't know?
He said it's petty. Why you
BT, you didn't read Variety? You didn't see BT or BT Plus or my post? Because I want to know why y'all rushed to call me broke, but you didn't rush to congratulate me. I know you saw it and you see this too. And this is the last I'm going to say because I'm not going to be messing with you. But I knew this when I said that. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not even going to justify you by calling you by name. You're all one group of ignorance to me.
You're one
just
bag
one
of ignorance. You're one
bag
bundle.
of ignorance.
You're a bundle.
I won't even dignify you by calling you individually. But you know who you are. Keep the video up, too. Don't take it down.
Dang.
It's okay for everyone not to praise the person that you chose to deify. Some people praise the Lord. And likewise,
Perhaps the reason why he wasn't a fan was because he would choose to deliver a message with a bit more kindness and from the standpoint of love, because he actually has real love in his life.
And the reason why is because there are pivotal moments in your career. Being fired is actually the start of your career. And when I look back on it, as scary as that time was, knowing that there were bills that are still due every single month and your income is literally cut in half, when I look back on it, I know it was God's hand.
Yeah.
And when I think back on March 1st, 2013, I was willing to follow you over a cliff.
What you gonna say now?
And to see where we are today, I'm so proud, and I wear the badge of Miss KevOnStage so proudly. Melissa Fredericks, your last name so proudly, and I'm so grateful that you allow me to wear it without shame. So congratulations to you.
So after approaching the first 2 years nominated with gratitude, he won the third year nominated. And how fitting was that for someone like Kev to win an award for the advancement of his people, when just a few years earlier, he started his own studios so that he could do exactly that.
And it is your boy, KevOnStage. We are so excited to share what God's been doing for our company. We are now the owners of this soundstage. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the back. Look at the space we have. Listen, wave your hands. Brendan, just show what God is doing right now. Listen. At the beginning of this year, we were in the racism office. They kicked us out. We moved into a bigger podcast space. But God said it. He said, Kev, I want you to get a soundstage because I want you to do TV and movies and web shows and series. And for the app, you're going to need your own place to shoot. And in the midst of a pandemic, the songwriter said in the middle of it, we still were blessed. Come on and look at how big our soundstage is. We will be able to shoot sitcoms, movies. Look at all the space. We can fit a whole production area here, cameras. We can pan up, Tony, pan up. We can create our own lighting grid. We're going to hang lights from the ceiling, and we're going to use all this to create content. Black-owned, huh? Black-owned creators for the app, for the people. Brendan is walking. Melissa is walking. Believers are believing. Come on and show them that this isn't even the only soundstage. This is just the big one. But we've also got a smaller one, too. Come on in, Tony. Don't be afraid of it. Come on in and see what God has done for us. Another sound stage. Now we've got to see, I need y'all to see the vision. It ain't been outfit yet, huh? It ain't been painted yet. We just signed the paperwork on today. Huh? Believe in God. In the middle of the struggle. We got a second sound stage here. We're going to be able to do the same thing here with lights and sound. And we're going to make it all and own it. And we're going to license it out. Oh, that's how we playing the game. We gonna be the owners. You gonna be the licensor.
We're gonna be able to make movies and stuff and just be direct to consumer. And then Hollywood gonna be like, man, let me hold that movie off you for 300,000, for $1 million. Yep. Be like, yeah, no, man, I can give it to me for 2 million. 300,000. Those were last year's prices. Huh? What's that BET Plus? You ain't got no movies, do you? Oh, you done ran out of Baby Boy plays, have you? Let me see what I got in the file.
Baby Boy? Yeah.
So nah, man, I think the people are helping us position ourselves to own this stuff. That is the key to what we are trying to do. Own and license, not sell.
You could be a spectacular pastor. You know how to get the hearts and the likes, but can you change a life, son?
Our church is thriving because of me.
The BT logo original series!
That's great. I'm so excited that you had a chance.
I'm here to announce and introduce you all to the new pastor, someone.
Oh my God.
Spiritual son, Pastor Theophilus Patterson.
I'm your real son. You think you can take this from me? Let's call every church and let them know I am ready to take over their ministry. Now, this is so good.
It's so good!
This is so good.
Chattanooga. Plant me in Chattanooga. They say that's New Atlanta. Put some drum rolls in the comments right now. God is moving me in my ministry too. love it.
This is a great trailer.
It is actually. It's really good.
That's our house.
Come on. It is actually. It's really good.
That's our house.
Come on.
Look at the color! It's in the BT color! Yeah!
This is great.
New pastor's what now?
Look at Lexi! You see her?
Funerals can be so hard.
Lisa Beasley!
Casket. But if it's open, people gonna be able to see it in there.
Yes, yeah.
They gonna be dead. We could bow our heads.
That's my grandma.
Oh, Jesus. You sure your daddy was wrong?
There go Mark. Oh my God, Melissa.
Well, do you even know what it is she's asking me to do? I want my husband to close his eyes, and with a giving heart, I want him to eat my...
You're going to hell.
Hey, Mark, it looks great.
It does. The coloring, it looks so good.
Oh!
So good. That was great.
Oh!
I got a little emotional too.
And
Oh God, I was hoping you wouldn't cry because then I wouldn't cry.
oh my God.
Man, that was
Oh my God. I don't know why I'm crying.
I know, it was overwhelming.
I want to send it to Jay.
I know, I was thinking the same thing. Man, I had the exact same thought.
For those who don't know or don't understand what's happening in this moment, Jay, or Jason Fredericks, is Kev's older brother, the person who got him started in comedy, believed in him, and eventually became his manager. Jason passed in 2022, so he didn't get a chance to see this moment.
To the stage crew. This is like all of our win, and I do mean that.
Go stage crew, go.
Because y'all, listen, y'all believed, y'all put your money up. $5,
Yeah.
$6, $7, $10, $15. Some of y'all, a good portion of y'all have the Patreon and the app. Y'all watched, y'all kept, y'all paid for the year, y'all supported, y'all voted in the polls, y'all shared with your people.
You did.
Y'all are the reason I can do this.
I'm trying not to cry, man, but I just appreciate you, man. And I hate I couldn't be there. But you know I'm there in spirit. I was watching Patreon and I'm just so proud of you, man. It's just been such a journey, man. And you have to have days and moments like that. Awesome, Melissa, for putting something like that together. But you have to have those times to just reflect on where you come from, man. And it's just special. And it's really, really hard for me to say how proud I am of you and for you. And I watch you work so hard, man. It's a lot of work. People don't really know how much goes into it. And so, congratulations, man. Congratulations. Love you.